Welcome back, everybody. I've got 1 o'clock. We're going to move into our performance reporting sessions, and the first one is our VOCA performance reporting. I'd like to introduce our lead planner, Lindsay Bohan, and allow her to introduce the rest of the presenters as they move through that presentation. Lindsay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. And just to verify, can everybody see the correct slide presenting at the moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, welcome back from the break, everyone. Hope you're able to enjoy your lunch time. But we will go ahead and get started. My name is Lindsay Bohan. I am, as Jason advised, the lead VOCA planner here at the Governor's Crime Commission. I oversee and manage our VOCA victim assistance funds and our small but wonderful team. And we'll go ahead and have them introduce themselves here too.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan. I am one of the CVS VOCA planners.
Hi, I'm Grace, and I am a program assistant for the planning team.
Miss Patricia, are you able to?
Hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Albert, and I'm a VOCA planner.
We also have Amanda Endicott, who is a VAWA planner, but she also supports us on the VOCA end as well. And so, yeah, we're going to go ahead and present on the subrecipient performance reporting process that is for our VOCA Victim Assistance Awards. So hopefully not that it's the most exciting topic in the world, but hopefully it's not too snooze-worthy for you. Just as an overview, so VOCA Victim Assistance provides funds to organizations that provide vital victim services in their communities. So the data reported by the grantees allows the Office for Victims of Crime, OVC, to demonstrate the value of the program and the specific benefits that the program provides to government agencies, the victim services field, the public, and other stakeholders. So that is kind of just a summary of ultimately why we have folks complete their reporting. But so OVC uses this data to generate an annual report that us as a state uses to be able to advise how our funds are being used. And then they also respond to specific inquiries, such as either from the federal administration, from national organizations, from research organizations, or of course, we ourselves as a state administrating agency can also request specific inquiry information based on the data that all other states provide. But as an example, if somebody was to ask for the amount of organizations that were VOCA funded that support victims of elder abuse, then this data would be able to be pulled from to be able to provide that information. And then GCC itself, we use this data and the reporting to identify training goals, to identify training and technical assistance goals, to track award activity and progress towards your subrecipient goals, your compliance and monitoring goals for program effectiveness and for service delivery. And then we also, of course, use the data to inform our planning for budgets and for strategic planning long-term, and then funding decisions through our committee and commission process. I think there was a comment about sounds. Maybe it's on my end. So if there's any.
Lindsay, we're going to help troubleshoot. We can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so for VOCA Victim Assistance grant reporting, we have three main pieces and parts of what that looks like. So we have our initial subgrant award report process, which is what is commonly referred to as our ISAR, or Part 1 and Part 2. We also have the OVC quarterly performance reports, which are our PMT reports, what we refer to as PMTs. And then we also have a newer part of the process that is the revised subgrant award report for Part 1 and Part 2. And so that is in regards to any awards that are updated or have additional adjustments during the course of it being opened already. So as a VOCA victim assistance subgrantee, these are federal requirements. These are not just GCC requirements. That you are required to report on the progress of your activities under these grants every 3 months in the OVC performance measurement tool, which is an online data collection system that is operated by and is held by the federal side of things through OVC. And then we just wanted to also specify that late report submissions, of course, can be really impactful. They're able to either delay grant openings. They are also something that can place holds on your reimbursements if you are late on these deadlines. And then they can also affect your funding abilities or funding eligibility later in the process if we are seeing that there is compounded or multiple different concerns or issues that you're having as far as late report submissions. So it's incredibly important for these things to be completed in a timely fashion and to the best of your ability, and then to communicate with your grant administrator and your grant planner around getting these submissions completed. And so just for the time frame, for the VOCA victim assistance reporting, for the kind of resources that you're going to best utilize to be able to make this easy for you. So to have it on hand, the easiest piece would always be able to have your OVC welcome guide, which walks you through getting access to these, to the reporting website, as well as how to add users, as well as just a very detailed walkthrough of how to complete these questions, because you're reporting on data that is not only the allocation of your funds across program priorities, but also the number of victims that you serve during these periods of performance. You're also reporting on demographics of the individuals that you're serving that are reported, as well as the types of victimizations that they present with and the types of services that that particular project under VOCA was providing. So we've got links to the welcome guide on here. We also have links to the performance measure dictionary and terminology resource, because of course your agencies, how they define these different terms, how they maybe pull their data together, it's not necessarily going to be exactly in line always with how OVC and the federal side define some of these terms. So you just want to make sure to use that resource to be able to kind of bridge those translation barriers and to ensure that how you understand the meaning of a word is what they're asking in regards to reporting the data. And then, of course, you're also going to make sure that you are looking at your agency or program goals and objectives, especially as it pertains to these quarterly PMTs, because you want to make sure that you are aligning that data with the program goals and objectives that you are able to advise of and that you've reported that are the makeup of each of these projects and each of these reports. And then, of course, you also want to be looking at your past quarterly reports for comparison, seeing if there's anything that you can flag of concern, seeing if there's any questions that maybe were a struggle previously that you needed to follow up with staff on. And then also, if you are new to this process, you can always, of course, look at your past quarterly reports to kind of get an idea of what the numbers looked like previously and how your agency might have been reporting them in previous periods as well. And so this is just a brief overview of that breakdown of each part of the process. Previously, folks who have had our awards before are quite familiar with this process. However, it has been historically sitting with our grant management team. So it's been historically more of a post-award process. However, we have shifted it over the last 2 years, I would say, to be with the grant planning team. So with our pre-award process. So now the initial sub-grant award report, or the SAR Part 1, is due prior to the grant opening, as well as the sub-grant award report, or the SAR Part 2. And then, of course, your performance reports or your PMT reports continue to be due quarterly. And then the revised sub-grant award report, if necessary, would be due within 30 days of any grant amendment. And so we've got folks who are navigating that process right now as a result of extensions to their awards. And so that extension process typically comes with a revision of your SAR to be able to keep that data updated and correct. And so as I touched base on briefly before, so there is the federal system, or the OJP reporting platform. The screenshot is what it will look like when you access it through the link here on the slide. So if you do not have access to this platform, then you would contact the performance measurement platform help desk, which will also have their contact information on here. They also have contact information on the website. But if you have never had access to it before, you have the ability to request it from the help desk. And then also, if you are a current user, you also have the ability to, of course, continue access and be able to see your past reports that you've completed, and then, of course, future reports that will be due. And then, of course, just something to note of these like two little technical pieces at the bottom, and it is listed on the website as well, of just making sure that you're utilizing the proper features on your browser, and you're using the best browsers to be able to see all the features and access everything that you need to. So utilizing Google Chrome version, the most recent Google Chrome version, or the most recent Internet Explorer versions. Those things are definitely important to be able to make sure that all the features are working correctly and there's no technical issues on that end. So once again, if you are a current user, then you'll be able to sign in. And then if you are also a current user for your agency, you also have the ability to add new users to the platform for your agency. And this is the only way that actually can occur. GCC staff can only add the point of contact for each project, for each grant to the website. We're not able to add access for just any other users that are in your agency that might be appropriate to be able to either get training or assist with data management, or refer to any of the data for any resource or any needs you might have. So that's just a reminder that you absolutely can add more than one user to your agency. You just cannot add more than one user to a project. So you would have to add that to your administrative list on the website yourself. And then we also would recommend having multiple users per agency, because of course there's turnover, there's unexpected health things, there's time off. So we want to make sure that there are multiple people who are able to have access to the website for your agency and that are able to be familiar with the reporting processes and procedures and deadlines, so that you can hand those things over and then go about your business if necessary, in regards to for whatever reason that you might not be able to have your point of contact maybe complete the report over somebody different. And then the other website that we want to ensure that everybody has access to is, of course, our grant management system, or EBS, because most of these processes are two parts. We have portions of the processes that are involved in the OJP reporting platform, and then we also have portions of it. And then, of course, just to ensure that not only do you have to have access to EBS, you also have to have access to the GCC tiles within EBS. So you need to make sure that when you are looking at and selecting the progress and performance tile for upload of your reports and some of the information that we're going to be requesting, that you can see the GCC underneath it, and that you're looking at that correct tile, as opposed to another agency who might be using the platform, including Council for Women and Youth Involvement, now I believe the Division of Women and Youth, to be able to they also use this platform. So we want to make sure you're under the correct agency. And then, of course, just to stress that EBS is not in any way connected to the OJP reporting platform. So typically staff has to go in and update one and the other. So also subrecipients need to do that. So if you have completed you've completed sections of the report, or you've added new users to your project or to your agency in the OJP reporting platform, that information does not just transfer over to EBS. There are mechanisms and uploads and different steps that have to be completed. So we just wanted to remind you about that. so that you are able to complete your sub-grant award reports, quarterly reports, and your annual performance reports, and be able to go through the right steps within the deadline. And then, of course, at any time, if you're unsure of what access your agency has, who has access under your agency, under either of these platforms, just please let us know, and we'll either refer you to the support desk for either of those platforms, or of course ourselves, the grant planner or the grant administrator for your award, can help you with that. And then these are just the easy links to multiple user guides. So of course our EBS and grant process guidelines and the grant management guidelines are at the links for the grant process, and the EBS external user guide to help you navigate through those systems and through those processes. And then the OJP performance reporting, I would say your best two resources outside of the ones we listed earlier are going to be the VOCA victim assistance user training and the subgrantee award report guide, which once again goes through with screenshots, with a bunch of different trainings, a bunch of different pre-recorded webinars and so forth, like what each question is, how to answer it, and so forth. So those are going to be your best resources to have with you as you navigate and train on these processes. And then next, we're going to hand over to Jordan in regards to the initial subgrant.
Thank you, Lindsay. So like Lindsay said, I'm going to go over the subgrant award report process. This is comprised of two parts. Next slide, please. So just a brief overview of the SAR process in general, and that's what we typically refer to it as. Subgrant award reports are once your organization or your agency has been awarded funding from GCC, us as the VOCA planning team will complete your sub-award profile in the OJP reporting platform, which is where you submit your SAR information, also your quarterly PMTs. And this will include your subgrantee organization award details. So if at any point you have any questions about your funding for that project, that's where you will go to see that information. And then, like Lindsay said, the SAR information has been transitioned to a pre-opening of the project. So this happens during the modifications process. You will complete SAR Part 1 form and upload it into EBS. Your planner then reviews it and uploads it or submits the information into the OVC website. And then if there are any errors that we notice that need to be corrected, we will send it back to you in EBS for you to correct. SAR Part 1 includes questions 1 through 6, and then Part 2 is 7 through 11. So I'm going to go through some key things in Part 1 first. Next slide, please. You typically will receive the Part 1 form from your planner or from our program assistant, Grace. But in the event that you didn't receive it or you need another copy, whatever the case may be, you can go to the post-award section of the GCC website, and there will be a link to it there as well. And you will upload the completed form in the progress performance report tile in EBS. Again, make sure that it does say GCC at the bottom, so you are submitting it to us, our agency. Next slide. One of the key things that we run into issues with when it comes to the subgrant award report is the program priority section. So you need to make sure that the information in Part 1 aligns with your program priority. So if your project is focusing on child abuse, then your funding needs to be listed in the child abuse section, so on and so forth. If it's a domestic violence, then it needs to be under domestic violence category. If it is a split project between domestic violence and sexual assault, then you need to put funding into both of those categories in the way that your agency plans to spend the funding on both of those priorities. And then the underserved category, There are subcategories under that. So you will just list the funding under underserved, and then whatever that underserved population is that you are specifically focusing on, you will put in the award information there as well. Any revisions that are made to the subaward needs to be reflected in the SAR within 30 days of the change. And then after we as the grant planners have approved your form in EBS, we will submit the information in the OVC website and submit it. And then once it's been submitted, you will receive an email from the OVC website letting you know that part 2 has been open and is ready for you to complete. And you complete that in the OVC website or the OJP platform. And it asks for a little bit more detail, which I will go into in a second. Next slide. These next 2 slides are just a visual of what it looks like on both EBS and on the form itself. So in EBS, this is where you can see what your program priority is. So if you are ever confused about that or unclear on what your priority is listed as with GCC, this is where you'll see it. It's in your application. And it says program priority, and then it will list the year and then your priority for that project. So in this case, this one was a domestic violence and sexual assault. So this project would need to separate their funding in both the domestic violence category and also the sexual assault category. Next slide. And this is what it looks like on the SAR form itself. So question 6 is where you list the priority requirements. So 6A is child abuse. That's where you would list the funding if you were a child abuse priority. Same thing with domestic and family violence in B, sexual assault C, and then underserved D. And you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the underserved has a few subcategories. So you will just divvy out your funding in the way that your project is meant to serve victims. Next slide. Okay, and then once all that is done, we go into SAR Part 2. SAR Part 2 is questions 7 through 11, and it's a little bit more specific to the project and also to your organization. And this is actually submitted in the OJP platform itself, so not in EBS, but on the OVC website. And this is all information links that your grant planner and our program assistant, we send all this information in emails, so you will have access to all of this. And that must be submitted prior to quarterly reporting being able to be visible for your agency or for this project. So if you have not completed both parts of the SAR, you wouldn't have access to your PMTs. So this is the first step in order to complete your quarterly reporting. Next slide, please. And for part 2, these are some of the things that this section focuses on. So broadly speaking, the types of victimization that you serve with this project, and then also the budget and staffing for this project. So it will ask for how many people are being staffed under this project, how many hours, same with volunteers, and then types of victimization will ask you to explain that in more specific detail on the types of victims you will be serving with that VOCA funded project. And you will, once that's completed, you'll submit an OVC. If we see anything that needs to be changed, we will send it back to you. Otherwise, we approve it. And then you are good to go for your PMTs, which Grace is going to go into more detail on.
Thanks, Jordan. So I'm going to be talking about the actual report, the quarterly report that you submit itself. So on the left, you'll see a calendar. These are all of the important dates that you're going to need to know for reporting, including the due dates. And this is sent out in all of our reminder emails and in the trainings we have. So you'll have access to see this again. This is based on the federal fiscal year, but if any of these dates do change, we'll let you know about it as soon as we hear from OVC. And then on the right, there's the information for the help desk at the OVC PMT system. Us staff at GCC are happy to answer any questions the best that we can and to take any questions from you, but we are very limited in our ability of what we're able to do, especially like with any technical issues in the website. So it's always best to also contact them when you reach out to us. And then all of this data does also go directly to OVC. So as Jordan mentioned, when we're setting up the PMT profiles, we're going to automatically make the point of contact whoever is listed as the project director in the EBS system. And the point of contact is going to be the one that receives any staff, like emails from staff, any reminder emails, anything from the OJP reporting platform, any date changes, and have access to log into the system. So if you want your point of contact to be someone other than the project director, just let us know as soon as possible so that we can get this changed for you. And then if you have multiple active VOCA grants that are going to be reporting right now, you can have different point of contacts for all of them, or you can have the same point of contact to submit all of the reports. It's just up to your agency. So when you go in to actually complete the report, you're going to click on Enter Data at the top. If you do have multiple active VOCA grants that will be submitting data, you'll see them all listed here. So you're just going to find the one that you're submitting the data for at the time, go into the reporting period, and you'll be able to submit all of that data separately. And then us staff, we have access to a dashboard that shows us 3 different statuses: not started, in progress, and complete. So this just helps us keep track of who's working on the report and who we need to send reminder emails to. When you begin working on the report, you're going to see 3 sections that it's split up into: population demographics, direct services, and then review. And then there are 2 responses that we just want to make sure we clarify what they mean, because it can be a little bit confusing. The first one is not reported, and this just shows that the subgrantee does collect the data, but it wasn't provided by the victim. And then the second one is not tracked. And this tells us that the subgrantee doesn't have a way to collect the data in the format that OVC requires it. And if this is the case, you do need to show us that you have efforts underway to start tracking that data. And we're happy to assist with whatever that can mean and with that process in any way we can. So after you complete the report and you have all of your data entered, the last thing you're going to do is click this checkbox at the bottom of the report that says mark data entry as complete. It's important that you check this because this is the only way your status goes from in progress to completed. And we'll often see people who submit their report and it still says in progress on our end, and usually it just means that you haven't checked this box yet. The other reason that you need to check the box is because this is the only way that your data transfers from the system into a PDF form. And that is what you're going to go into EBS and submit for the grant administrators to review. So after you have the report completely finished and you've checked the box and you have the PDF form, you're going to go into EBS and you'll submit the report into the EBS system, and your grant administrator is going to be the one that validates the report. They'll look for errors, any modifications, any missing information, and so you can expect to hear from them on if anything needs to be corrected and re-uploaded. And then it is GCC staff. Like, GCC staff are the only people that have access to unlock the reports. So even if on your end you notice anything that needs to be changed or edited, or if you forgot to put in some information, you'll have to reach out to the staff and we'll be able to unlock it on our end. So we do receive error reports from OVC. These come in around 2 months after the reporting deadline. The grant planners will be the ones to unlock the reports if you do have an error, but it will be your grant administrator that reaches out to you, showing you how to correct the report, what question was missed, or what question had an error, and then how to resubmit the report. So they'll have all the information from us on how to get that corrected. And the most common errors we see are in questions 1, 2, and 8, but we do have examples of how to correctly answer these in our training resources that we'll be sending out to you and the reminder emails. I believe we're going to go back to Lindsay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you both. What I initially touched base on at the beginning was just the importance of completing these reports on time and completing them by the deadlines that are given, as well as just communicating with your grant planner and your grant administrator if you are having any issues or are having any barriers to doing that. Because we do, of course, monitor subrecipients' compliance with these deadlines and with these requirements as it pertains to both GCC's deadlines and the federal deadlines. So our compliance and monitoring for this includes tracking agencies with consistently late reports and with unreported barriers. GCC can increase monitoring, delay, reduce, or revoke awards because of continuing reporting compliance issues that are inclusive of but not limited to multiple late reports during a period of performance, lack of communication or notice around barriers, or lack of internal controls around staff turnover and completion of reports. And I think that the majority of the things that we see in regards to concerns with noncompliance is really just around making sure that the internal process for your agency is consistent, and that you have folks internally that are trained on the process and that are confident in these deadlines and knowing how to operate with them. And then ideally, of course, and that's not always possible, being able to navigate staff turnover and being able to have a process for getting that next person who is tasked with these reports and these requirements up to date as quickly as possible, which of course your grant administrator and your grant planner are more than welcome to be able to do to provide to assist in those issues. Again, a large piece of why this is so important, not only of course is your own ability to access your funds and your reimbursements, but it is also a requirement of GCC as a state administering agency to be on time and to meet these federal deadlines. And we want to make sure that the continuation or continued issues with anybody being late with reports does not impact our state as a whole as far as our ability to access and draw down our federal funds. And once again, we are here to help. So there's just a couple of additional tips. Just please make sure as best as you can to start early. I think everybody, has seen that with a 30-day time frame to be able to complete these reports, that it is not atypical for us to see 100, 200 reports be completed in the last 2 weeks, or 60, 70 reports being completed in the last few days before the deadline. So as best as possible, just please start early and utilize your resources that are in the Need Help tab of the website, as well as on this presentation, and we'll make sure to have all of the links accessible on our website as well. We also encourage the subrecipients to attend our quarterly PMT technical assistance hours. We send those links for the year at the beginning of the federal fiscal year, and then we also resend them as we go throughout the course of the year during each quarter, so that you have access to an hour of our time each, or certainly more if you're meeting with us separately, but certainly at least this is just a continued hour of our time that you have our rapt attention, and we are there to answer any questions that you might have as far as these PMTs, whether it's specific to that quarter or whether it's specific to the broader completion of the PMTs in general. There are also multiple online pre-recorded trainings. The OVC website is flush with them, as well as our grant workshops are online on our website. And then, of course, the performance measure and dictionary and terminology resource. I will flag that again, like I said, just because not everybody defines terms the same way. So we want to make sure that you understand how the OVC terminology is being defined so that you're able to answer those questions accurately based on the way that they are defining them. And then once again, if you're experiencing staff turnover, you can ask the help desk actually about the Welcome to OVC Performance Management session. We also have access to them. We also use them for our onboarding and for our training. They are a wonderful resource and are very communicative in being able to provide any sort of assistance or clarification if necessary, whether it's in regards to the website itself for the OJP reporting platform, or whether it's in regards to the SAR or the quarterly PMTs. They're a wonderful resource. And then, of course, have their contact information on here again with the times that they are available. And then, once again, we are always here to answer your questions. That is really very much what we're here for. And if we don't have any of the answers, of course, we will be able to communicate with either our federal partners or with the PMT. We work very closely with the grant administration, who is very great at if there's anything or if there's any inconsistencies or concerns or issues, that they reach out to us as well. But here's all of our contact information. And then, Miss Patricia, I don't know do we have any questions in the chat in regards to this presentation?
No, we do not have any questions in the chat.
I will just consider it is because it was very thorough, and also because you are all experts as it pertains to the SAR and PMT process. But like I said, by all means, please reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns. There really truly is nothing, no such thing as a dumb question or something that seems insignificant or not too simple. We really are absolutely welcome in regards to being able to walk through this with you guys, because it can be confusing, especially depending on the project and agency and so forth. So I think that is all from our VOCA planning team.
All right. Well, thank you very much, VOCA planning team. We very much appreciate it. I'll give just a minute to let our VALA team be able to share their presentation.